Exploring practical techniques is derived from classical martial arts of all styles. This is Martial Arts Explorer. A quick thanks to Howard for accurately pointing out that one of our recent episodes was a repeat, except for my opening and closing segments. It seems my vaunted filing scheme may have a flaw. Me. Howard, we're grateful you pointed out our error. It allowed us to make some quick changes to avoid further repeats. Thanks again. Josh Wilbur sent us a note that he's having some trouble downloading the podcast to his iPod. Now, we suggested he look at his iTunes software, in particular QuickTime, after checking the file to make sure it was okay. And we'd like to know if anyone else is having issues like these. Please send a note to explorer@martialartsexplorer.tv. We're still looking for your stories about a time you've used non-combative techniques to avoid a fight. Some viewers have already sent us stories. Thanks, guys. Now it's your turn. What are you waiting for, an invitation? I think we've passed that point already. This time, Michael's looking at a collarbone technique that makes me hurt just thinking about it.
Thanks, Scott. Let's look at stomach 12 today, all right? That's a pressure point up in the collarbone, up on the inside here, and we're gonna work on it coming into as a grab, a quick dig in with the fingers to get a little body reaction out of this. Now we're gonna come into this move through a spear hand strike. Now these are all over different forms, different katas. We're gonna take ours out of Pinyan Shodan. We come in, this particular one is supported, augmented, the hand is beneath on the side here. Adam's gonna come in, he's gonna be my partner. Now remember one basic rule. If a hand is supporting underneath, it's probably pulling, pushing, or doing something. It's not simply there to hold up my arm. My arm's not that heavy. If Adam's pushing in, I'm gonna use this as a block. I'm pushing across, and my other hand is shooting here. Now I can come under and reach over top. I can push in and come under. I might end up this way. It doesn't really matter. Remember, be a little bit loose in your thinking. It's not so important above or below. It's how it's gonna work out best for you. In this case, I tend to like to go under. So as I push here, I reach my hand under this way, and what I'm gonna do is come up into the neck, and then I'm gonna dip down behind the collarbone, and then I'm gonna hook underneath the bone. The hook at the end is very nice. It adds a lot to the technique. If I simply just rub down the back of the collarbone, I get one reaction. If I hook underneath, I get a very different reaction. It hurts a lot more, a lot quicker. And that's what we really want. Now another good point, get the clothes out of the way if possible. If I'm trying to push through a gi or a sweatshirt, it gets hard to dig in there. You're actually adding in a layer that's blocking the point. So reach around it. A lot of times you can hook with one of your fingers. If you're using your index finger and you're hooking with the other two, if you use your third finger, hook in with your first finger, all right? So use one of your fingers to hook close and the other one's to dig in behind. So he reaches in, he's winding up to punch, he's winding up to do something, whatever, or he's just pushing. As he pushes, I step in this way, I dig the clothes out, I reach in. Now we're gonna change direction so it makes it easier to see. So as this comes in here, here's my hooking the clothes. Now, the notch and the collarbone up here, and the top of his shoulder, it's about halfway, maybe a little lower, is stomach 12. I'm gonna reach in here and down, and the body just starts to sink in nice and quick. Now, if you get there, this is a perfect opportunity to talk somebody down. You do not always have to throw a hard sweep or a hard takedown, knee him, strike him to the head. So as he comes in and we work in here, kneel down, down, kneel down, kneel down, and I just drop him right down. You always want to tell people very loudly what you want them to do, especially if there's other people around. It helps so everybody in the room knows what's going on. I'm not being abusive, I'm not overreacting. I'm telling them to kneel down. It helps if you have to defend yourself later, if you have to present this to police officers or a court. Everybody in the room knew what was going on. So the attack comes in, pop in, I just slide right underneath in this case, or right over the top, pull the clothes out, hook, pull in, and I start to come down, and I just bring them all the way to the ground. Now, stomach 12 is pretty interesting is the fact that there's actually quite a few people who don't react real heavily to this. Adam's a high responder, that's why I pulled him the first time. You see a really good, quick reaction. Thanks, Adam. Yep. I'm gonna have Sam come in and join me now. And Sam doesn't react much to this at all. He gets a very slight amount of pain, so as this shoots in, and I slip in here, I hook and pull. Now, as I dig into this, he's not really even moving at all. Remember, self-defense is very fluid. If you ever run into a situation where you start into a technique and it doesn't work, give it up, all right? It's not worth sitting here doing this while he decides to clock me in the face with the other hand. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna start to grab, well, I'm gonna push and I'm gonna start to pull. I'm gonna move him this way, and then we can go on to any other additional strikes that you want as you're set up right here with him. I've still got his arm hooked up. I'm still in a good position here for working any of these types of moves coming around the body. Use what you have, do not force something to work. So be aware, you may end up with an attacker sometimes that just doesn't respond. If you're doing a finger lock, it may not hurt them, they may be too flexible. If you're doing another joint lock, it may not work. If you're doing a pressure point shot and you're working in, say you're working on a lung point in here and you're pulling these around and he's just not doing anything, give him up, move on, finish with a strike. You don't always have to keep trying on something if it's not gonna work for you guys. Thanks, Sam. We're gonna grab the class, let everybody give this a chance. All right, guys, we're gonna take a look at a supported spear hand strike. So the move is coming in this way. Now, in actual application, we're gonna turn our hand over here. That's not that important. You're just making a minor adjustment moving the hand. This is from Pinion Showdown for us, coming in here. And once again, supported hand isn't that important either. It could be underneath, it can be over the top, it doesn't matter a whole lot. If Matt's my partner here, he reaches in. I'm using my support to parry. So I'm pressing this across here. I'm shooting my other hand underneath, I'm coming up to the body. Remember to clear the clothing. I hook in with my ring finger and pull it away. You can hook with the index and drive your other fingers in. It doesn't matter. We're gonna go into stomach 12, which is up on the collarbone, a little bit to the side of the notch right in the front. So I'll hook this out of the way, and you're gonna hook this in, and you see the immediate body response. Matt moves pretty quick on this one. Not everybody's the same. Some people react, some people don't. So shoot, drive in, hook, pull, and drive down. Now from here, in Matt's case, he's just gonna fall if I just walk him back. You might wanna sweep the leg. You might wanna lower him down. If it's gonna happen slower, you can lock in. So I'm supporting him here, and I'm supporting him here. I can actually slow him down, and I can tell him kneel down, kneel down, kneel down, and I can help control his body in this position. I don't have to let him drop because I can support him underneath. If you go over the top, I'm not gonna be able to support him as well, but I basically get to the same move. I still press the hand underneath, I still reach in the collarbone, and I end up in basically the same position. So go ahead and give it a try and see how it works for you guys. All right, class. So out of everybody here, who does this not work on? Just Sam? So 1 out of 10 in this case, all right? So be aware, this one I tend to find a little more often some of the other techniques that does not work on people. Build has a lot to do with it. If you're a solid build, you built more like a wrestler, football player, it typically makes it a little harder to use sometimes because you got the muscle mass in here to protect those areas. So you switch up to different techniques, and that's another part of your training. As you work with people, you learn certain body types, work in certain positions, certain situations. Look at that, respond accordingly, and remember, if the move doesn't work, make sure just give it up and move on right away. Now, the one point I didn't cover when I was talking to class is make sure you dip behind the collarbone. So don't just slide down the back of the collarbone, dip underneath of it and hook in nice and tight. And that does help when you get in there. If you want a strong response, dip in, down, and behind. Good job, guys. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna head back to Scott.
Be sure to take care if you'd like to try this technique at home. You want to make it work, but you don't want to injure your friend. And we're not responsible for any injuries that may occur. We want your stories about avoiding a fight using non-combative techniques. We promise to protect your identity. Send email to explorer@martialartsexplorer.tv. For Martial Arts Explorer and Michael Kleinepier, I'm Scott Combs.